We'll discuss how to control an angle with a slider, how to control a line segment, the actual length with a slider, and then how to control an angle and a length together with either two sliders or one, but the key is we're going to match up an angle and a length and control them both. All right, the first thing to notice, I'm going to use the desktop version. Will be a little bit different if you're using the app version, but the same principles apply, get into the properties and all that stuff. All right, so first thing is, let's actually control an angle. So I'm going to move my axis down a little bit. I need 2 points. So let's get another point. Go back to the pointer. I actually want to control the angle. I want an input, so that means slider. So let's go to a slider. I'm going to do an angle. So we'll just do alpha. 0 to 360 is fine. I want you to keep in mind, especially with the app version, it's hard to find these alphas, these Greek letters, to input into things. So if you want, make it easy. The default is a Greek letter, but it doesn't have to be. Okay, so I'm going to get to my object properties. I'm going to do it like this to right click. You're going to go and click the gear and then click on your object, and it'll get you into these same properties. All right, so let's go to the basic, and then here's where I name it whatever I want. So I'm going to name it A instead of alpha. All right, so again, on the desktop version, it's very easy to put in Greek letters. On the app, it's a little bit more difficult depending on what you do. All right, so now what I want to do is control this angle. So to control an angle, I don't want to find an angle. In fact, I don't even have 3 points to make an angle. I want to do this angle with given size. So anytime you read with given size, it means you can control the actual angle. It really means you can input the angle, right? That's the given size part. And if we input the slider, then by default, we're doing the angle. All right, so we always want to start at the outside and then come into where we want our angle to be made. All right, and clockwise, counterclockwise, doesn't matter. I'm going to go clockwise. And I don't want 45 degrees, I want this slider. So I'll put A. And then see what I meant when I was talking about where the angle is. So from B to A, here's my angle. And you'll notice it gave me a point B prime. All right, so now this segment here, and we don't need a line segment, but let me just put one to show you. All right, so if I went from A to B, this is what that actual B prime is based off of. This is its set line segment. All right, so go back to the pointer. So now as I rotate through, you can see it's 45 degrees from this line. That's the angle. Right? And I can go all the way through to 360. All right, so that's how I can control an actual angle. All right, let's actually control a line, like the length, the segment of a line. So I want to control this F. Okay, I'm not going to do it on this one. So what I'm going to do is just move this, kind of get some space here. All right, let's move my pointer over. So it looks like the pointer, or I'm sorry, slider. Looks like the slider's fixed. So let's unfix it. I did right click. Again, you can just go to your properties and click fix, unfix it. Or on the app, you'll see up here will be toggle buttons. You can do the lock on and off. Oop, that's still my, there you go. Okay, so now I want to do the same idea, but I want to do it with a line segment. All right, so I need another point. I'll just put it here. Okay, and now I have the same options in the lines. I have this segment with given length. Right, so now the given length is, it's an input. I can input it whatever I want, but I want to use the slider as an input. So in this case, let's get another slider. I'll put it over here. I'll call this one B. This one is a number. I want it to be a length. Not that it couldn't be negative, I guess, but, well, the length of a segment, right, can't be negative. And 0 to 5 is fine. Okay, so let's go to segment of given length. I click on C, and now it's asking me for the length. I can type in any length I want. In fact, if I did that, I'll show you, right, if I type in 5, I get a nice horizontal line that's got a length of 5. All right, and the D now is light blue, which means it's somewhat restricted. And it's restricted, let me go to my pointer again. It's restricted because I can move it, but I can only move it with a radius of 5. So all I can do is circle it around C. All right, so it does have movement, and it is dynamic, but it has to have a radius of 5. Right. Okay, so let's undo that, all that stuff, and now let's do with a given length, so C, but now I want the slider to be the length, so I'll put in a 5, or I'm sorry, a B, hit OK, and now you can see my slider actually controls the length of the line. Right. And now I'm still on my pointer, and I can actually move this wherever I want and still have that option. All right, so it's kind of a, I don't know, double dynamic. So we did angles, we did line segments. Now let's do both. So what I want to do is actually control the line segment and the angle. All right, so let's actually, I'll scroll over some, get some space. Or let's do this. How about, let's unfix that. Let's move this over. Let's move all this over. See what we can do C. There you go. Okay, so now I want to do an angle and a line segment that change, that are dynamic together, right? So we did just angle, right? That'll change. We did just a line segment length. That'll change. Now I want a line segment and to change its length and its angle at the same time. Okay, we have two choices here. We can start with making the line segment dynamic, so I'll change the length and then turn that into an angle, right? Which is actually the easier way. Or I can go the other way, where I turn the angle first and then a line segment, which is a little bit more, not sophisticated, but a little bit more difficult, but I'll show you both. All right, so I want to actually control the angle and the line segment length, so I'm going to need two input sliders. First one will be the angle. I'm just going to, out of the chute, just name it to C, or get rid of the Greek letter. Again, if you're using the desktop version, it's very easy to get the Greek letters. The app is a little bit more interesting. At times, it's very difficult to get it. So that's my slider C. I need another one for the line segment. I'll just call that D. It's a line segment, so I'll make it positive. All right, so let's start now. I need a point, and I need a line segment with given length because I want it to be an input. So I'll start here, and then that'll be my D slider. That is what will change the length. All right, so now you can see my slider D, and same kind of deal. I can rotate this around wherever I want, and it still changes the length. Right now, so I did the length first with given size. So I did the length first with given size. Now I'm going to attach the angle with given size. So I can control the length. Now I'm going to control the angle. I want the angle to be E, so I'll start at F. I'll go to E. And I don't want, we'll go clockwise, but I don't want a given size. I want it to be my actual slider C. Then you can see I get this F prime. So in reality, the one that I want to actually put a line segment to is F prime. Because see how F prime is the one that moves? But watch what happens to F prime. It's fixed to the F. They're related. So if I change F, I change F prime. Which means all I need to do is make a line segment from E to F prime, go over, hide F, hide H. I even hide the angle, right? So unless you want to see it, right? And then that's my angle, right? So I can move the angle. Keep in mind though, this is one nice tip. Well, let me finish my thought here, and I can actually change the size. Just keep in mind when you do it this way, you're actually making it agree to that line that I hid. All right, but you can see that I can change both. All right, and so now that was the way where I start with a line segment and then move into an angle. Let's go the other way. Let's start with an actual angle and move into a line segment. I want to keep using these, so I'm actually going to delete all this stuff. So I'm going to delete E through F prime, H and I. Right. So if you need to see that again, just rewind the video. So here we're going to go with the angle first. So I need 2 points. And then I'll do an angle first. So angle with given size. I want it to be at E, so I'll start at F. I don't want it to be fixed. I want it to be my slider C. I want to go clockwise. And now you can see as I rotate around, there we go. But now you can see D, right, isn't fixed to any of this stuff. Right. So again though, F prime is the one that's going to move around. So I don't even need F anymore. I'll just hide it. And so now here the trick is, okay, so now the trick here is I need a line segment of given length. But the problem is if I do that, so let's get my line segment. I'll make a given length D. Right, so here we go. So now I can control H. But GeoGebra will not let me actually connect F prime and G. So if you go to the connect, right, so here's the attach, detach, you'll notice it won't let me take G and F together. So it won't let me do this. It won't let me put them together. Right, so now I can actually, oh, and in fact here it even got rid of the dependence on the slider. Okay, so that's the first tip is a line segment, you're not going to be able to actually connect 2 points together. Right, so let's undo all that and get rid of it. So here's the trick. The trick it actually is these hidden little circles. So I need a circle with a radius, a given radius. All right, so I'll click this. Note this too, if I make a circle, I want the center to be at E. If I click and hold and drag, it'll actually make my circle, right, which I don't want to do. If I do and just click and let go, it'll actually ask me what the radius is. So this is circle with kind of given size radius. And I want the radius to be my slider. Right, so I hit OK. And now you can see the radius of this circle is right there. So now what I can do is attach the actual f prime to the circle. Okay, and I'll show you what happens when we do that. So now when we actually attach f prime to the circle, which GeoGebra will let me do, see how now I can change the distance from E to f prime, but the actual angle itself just turned off. Okay, so this isn't going to work. So what I have to do is another little trick here. So what I'm going to do, we can just shrink our circle. I'm going to take a line segment. I'm going to make it a ray because a ray has a starting point and then it just extends out from here all the way through F. All right, so I'm going to do another little trick here where I'm actually not going to use F prime, I'm going to use the intersection right here. So I want another point and I'll put it right at the intersection. So that's G. Right? And that intersection now is on the actual radius of the circle, and the circle is controlled by the angle. Alright, so I had 2 points, F and an F prime, that I actually don't want to use at all. I need those, though, to set up my intersection. And now I can turn everything off, right? So I get rid of my conic, I get rid of my circle, I get rid of F prime, I get rid of my ray, and now I can make a line segment from E to G. And now I have a line segment that's controlled, that I can control the angle and the actual length. So 2 different ways to do it. If you start with the segment and change it and then move into the angle, it's a much easier process, as you had witnessed. This one, there are a couple little hidden tricks which could work in other situations. All right, but that's how you can do an angle, that's how you do a segment length, and then that's 2 ways to do them both together.